Having sponsored the measure, I move to open the period of interpellation. Recognize the sponsor, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, and to interpellate our minority leader, Senator Aquilino Cocomital III.
Hearing no objection, the period of interpellation is in order. Senators Alan Peter Cayetano and the minority leader are hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, magandang hapon. With the permission of the minority leader, can I just recognize ang ating mga resource persons
Go ahead,
at
sir.
guests? And just a short anecdote. Yusek Cristal Uy of NEDA, Director Marivic Castro of the ICT, the civil society groups, Better Internet Philippines, Philippine Cable and Telecommunications Association, National ICT Confederation of the Philippines, Information Technology Association of the Philippines, Institute of Social Entrepreneurship in Asia, American Chamber of Commerce, unconnected.org, Internet Society Philippine Chapter, and Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They have actually been here not only the last few days and weeks, even if we tell them na maraming naka-agenda, they've been much better than internet connections in the Philippines. They've always been connected, so I'd like to thank all of them for being here. And just as a short anecdote, Minority Leader, thank you for your patience then. Alam kong on deck ka every day from the time we start until late at night. We had a guest, si Bishop Oriel Balano, about, kasi in a few days, Valentine's na rin. So siya ang guest speaker namin 2 years ago. At sinasabi niya sa mga kapwa niyang pastor na, alam mo, part of pagiging pastor, alagaan mo pamilya mo. At dapat, di ba, maganda bahay mo para sa buong pamilya, para sa asawa mo, kusina. Then he was saying the consequences. But, you know, everyone was shocked, natawa, but realized it's true, not literally. Kasi sabi niya, but alam mo, para sa mga anak, kailangan may internet at maganda connection. Kasi kung hindi, mamamatay sila. So, nung una, natawa lahat. Nung una, shock yung iba, but niya sabing mamamatay sila. But then, di ba, kung halimbawa, walang pang merienda, either paghahatian nyo yung noodles doon or you'll eat tonight or kakatok ka sa kapitbahay mo para mangutang muna, di ba? Pag walang kuryente, whether kandila yan or you know, whatever means so that may konting ilaw naman sa bahay mo. Pag walang tubig, mag-iigib ka eh. Pero pag walang internet, every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, night time, wala pa, meron pa ba, etc. No? And that's only the basic use of the internet. What we're talking about now, what the world is talking about now is that in 2025, generation beta na to, di ba? Ang problema po, generation beta max pa tayong lahat eh. So, generation beta will be left behind by the rest of the world if the invisible infrastructure, invisible highway is not fixed. And this bill will basically not fix all of it, but will be a way of clearing the path para itong highway na to ay magawa. So thank you for that, Minority Leader, and thank you, Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. The measure has a nickname, no? Kasi I don't think the title of our measure is. Sandali po, I'm looking at the committee report. It is an act establishing a comprehensive and inclusive data transmission and connectivity framework for the Philippines. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Yes.
That's the title of our measure. But then we have given this a nickname and we're referring to it as the Konektadong Pinoy Act.
That is correct because many of the authors had different titles, but everyone agrees na the intent of this act is to let all Filipinos around the world, but especially in our 7,641 islands as of last month, be connected.
Yes, I like the name the short name we've given the measure, Mr. President. Konektadong Pinoy, KP.
Nung bata tayo,
just like my initials, Mr. President.
no, but just like what your father was fighting for, di ba? Nung araw, kailangan mo ng connect eh, kailangan mo ng padrino. So ngayon, ganun din eh. Pag wala kang internet, maghahanap ka pa eh. So with this
Okay.
bill, it equalizes the
So-
playing field, at least sa internet connection.
So may we know what are the substantive ideas and concepts within the measure which makes the Pinoys konektado or more konektado? That's why we've given it the name Konektadong Pinoy Act.
To give credit where credit is due, hindi ko na isa-isahin sa Congress at Senate, but during the time of FBR, if I'm not mistaken, Republic Act 7925, kung naalala niyo po, dati PLDT lang, kaisa-isa, sa lugar ko, mga kapitbahay namin noon, halos walang makuhang linya. Meron pang under the table kung kukuha ka ng linya, at kung may linya ka, usually may party line. And madalas may cross line, at pag umuulan, nasisira yung connection. But that law basically opened up, basically put the policy and had the regulations that allowed other telco players to come in. Actually, part of what is in Konektadong Pinoy, arguably, is in that law. Kasi dapat mag-come up with a list ang NTC, and then later on, wala pa naman PCC nun, mag-come up sila ng list ng kung paanong madaling makakonekta, or yung tinatawag na non-discriminatory access, di ba? But since 1995 to now, 2025 na, obviously we don't have the number of Wi-Fi providers and other infrastructure and the quality infrastructure that we want. So in summary, ito yung gagawin ng bill na to. Number one, not in this order, Mr. President, but in the order lang that I'm thinking about it. Number one, a continuous and real review of the use of the spectrum. Diba? Kasi mahalaga tong frequencies, at kailangan hindi to hinohoard or nasa ilan kumpanya lang, tapos so use it or lose it talaga to. So you have to continually look at it and allocate it well, no? Secondly, in terms of the infrastructure, we have to share it. We have to have access, at dapat very clear na you cannot discriminate. Of course, yung nagtayo ng infrastructure will get paid for it, di ba? So this is not only a strong policy, pero may mga nasa bill na to how to ensure that. Number three, there's some confusion about the franchise, but we will clear that up during the process of amendment. So basically ngayon, Mr. President, kung magtatayo ka ng telco, kailangan mo ng franchise. Kung Wi-Fi provider ka, mag-apply ka for VAS or value-added service, and you're not allowed to put up infrastructure. So we will accept, or we are drafting amendments na to the committee report wherein we will just keep existing law. Hindi mo pa rin kailangan ng franchise kung ikaw ay Wi-Fi provider, pero kailangan mo kung ikaw ay telco. But we will allow them to build infrastructure. Well, why would we stop anyone from building infrastructure? But if they use it for, in the same way telcos will use it for telephony, di ba? Kailangan nila ng franchise. And then we will strip many of the regulations para hindi walang red tape, but we will empower the NTC to make sure that yung standards, yung type kind ng infrastructure ay maayos. That's for national security and public safety. So basically, yun ang ginagawa nung bill na to. But like the stock market, it's also sentiment eh. So internationally at locally, ang feeling ng mga players, hindi kami welcome dito eh. So the policy and what this actually do, plus the sentiment, will encourage more players to come in.
When we say players, Mr. President, ito yung DTIP.
Yes.
So
yes,
players on data transmission.
Yes, yes, sir.
So these are not players on telecommunication.
Hindi po. So there will be the same rules pa rin. So yung pinagdaanan ng PLDT, Globe, Smart dito ay kailangan pa rin pagdaanan ng papasok na telco.
So ang konektadong Pinoy na konsepto dito, it's not because magiging konektado tayo sa telephone calls, the traditional voice call, but konektado tayo because of being connected in the sense of being connected through the internet?
You're totally correct. If we were discussing this bill sometime 1996, 97, 98, it would be Konektadong Pinoy, but it would be through cellular, through telephony.
Correct, yes.
But right now, it's really the Wi-Fi. It's really internet. So
So in
even
that
if
sense-
wala kang, we were discussing a while ago sa lounge with the minority leader, if in one town there are 50 of us and maganda yung internet and none of us had a phone but all of us had a computer or a tablet, we could use any of the applications, Zoom or the equivalent, and we can be connected. No? We can also use that for medical purposes, teleconsulta. You can use it for e-education. You can use it for e-payments, e-commerce, etc. No? So the connection here is not only communication, but actually, except for the physical being beside you, everything aside from the physical connection will be there, no?
Sige po. So this measure is not meant to affect the legal regime governing telcos or telecommunication entities or companies.
In that
Hindi?
sense, Mr. President, we're not protecting or going against the telcos. We're just saying that's complicated and there's a setup for telcos. But what we're saying is that this will actually also help the telcos. It will help all the industries. It will help Philippine industry if we make sure that Wi-Fi is accessible to all Filipinos and all areas of the Philippines.
Ano ba meaning ng Wi-Fi?
Boss, sorry. Makikilagay ulit ako. Walang taripa.
Okay, Mr. President. But I just, parang yesterday ata, I read a report a news report or maybe a column that the telcos, our existing telcos are against this measure or have some opposition against this measure, Mr. President?
There are different associations, Mr. President, and they officially submitted to the committee some of the concerns. Some of the concerns is on the franchise regulation, but some is more, for example, sa franchise. After our amendments, we're basically keeping the law. There will be no change except that we will allow the DTIPs to put up infrastructure, but only for internet services. If they're going to use it for telephony or for telco, what under present law requires a franchise, then they will still have to get the franchise.
No, but an entity or a company wanting to engage in a purely DTIP business, sabi niyo po, we will amend the measure kasi sa committee report ata, no need for a legislative franchise. But is the direction that we will require the legislative franchise?
After much discussion, that was actually just a reiteration that the Wi-Fi providers or DTIP do not need franchise in the existing law. And around the world, they're not. Except that sa atin, pagka VAS ka, you cannot build the infrastructure. But as I've been discussing with even informally, no, with some of the groups na may franchise, well, if they want to build, let them build. Basta't hindi gagamitin for telco purposes.
No, but before they build, before they build for DTIP purposes, they need a legislative franchise. That's our direction.
No, right now, they cannot build if VAS sila and then for whatever purpose. So ang change lang po natin is you don't need a franchise to build because you need a franchise to operate telephony. You're not supposed to need a franchise to build the towers, the equipment that can be multi-use. Diba?
Pero ang VAS means value-added service because this is a value-added service of a telco.
Yes,
Yun
but
yun eh. So-
but you can apply for VAS only. pwede
Even-
kang Wi-Fi provider lang na wala kang telco.
Okay, so right now that's being done.
Yes,
But
except they're not
under-
allowed to build.
Yes, kaya nga, you're not allowed to build. But how are you able to provide the value-added service kung wala ka infrastructure to do it in the first place?
You buy from the telcos, and the complaint from the start was that it's discriminatory. Of course, they will answer it's not discriminatory. So this will change that with the law. But why would I think that there's no objection to building infrastructure? Because first of all, it will help everyone and you're required naman to share at hindi mo naman gagamitin for, hindi ka naman magko-compete dun sa telco side. Of course, Mr. President, as you mentioned, Minority Leader kanina, ang bilis ng technology. So, pwedeng ma-obsolete yung pinag-uusapan natin soon, di ba? Oh.
Bago ko lang malimutan. But during the opening statement of our sponsor, he mentioned that about the franchise, we will be amending this. So may we know with more specificity what is the direction of the amendment regarding that requirement of a franchise, Mr. President?
Basically, we will be quiet about the franchise and the existing laws will take over.
So if we will be quiet about the need for a legislative franchise, and this bill is about DTIPs, so there can be a DTIP, or a player in the Philippines with infrastructure, and they do not need a legislative franchise.
Yes, they just need NTC registration, which we will keep.
NTC, yes.
Yes, registration.
Okay.
Kasi ngayon, pag telco, hindi ka pwede mag-register na wala kang franchise.
Correct.
Pero pagka DTIP
Yes.
na VAS, you can register.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll just make it easier for them.
So how did we address the concerns of the telcos, which I've read a
The
couple of days
telcos,
ago?
well, first of all, the telcos thought that they will have competition sa telco na walang
Na walang
franchise.
franchise.
Okay. But secondly, it's natural for individual and then a group of telcos not to want too much competition. But as we saw, a rising tide raises all boats, di ba?
Baka, what is the state of the technology now? Are the telcos using voice over internet protocol even for our calls, or the data transmission even for our voice calls, Mr. President? Does the sponsor know what is the latest level or status of technology?
When you talk about, so for example, Mr. President, di ba, meron tayong cellphone sa ating bulsa or bag, di ba? So if I call you directly with the line, so Globe o Smart, yun po yung public switch. Yung usual pa, except that from wired to wireless to cellphone, di ba? Pero if you use the app, WhatsApp, Viber, di ba? Packet-based technology, yung actually ang gamit mo, either the Wi-Fi, kung may Wi-Fi dito, or yung broadband, or di ba yung ino-on mo? Yung roaming. Or you use mobile data. Now, if you don't have a phone, you can still do the same through certain apps and certain using the computer or tablet. But I see what the minority leader is pointing at. The line is
Ano kasi, sir,
is
Mr.
blurring over time.
Hindi, kung klaro,
Just like my eyes, Mr. President.
Kung klaro na data transmission ito, the telcos are in telco, telecommunications, why would they be so worried about the proliferation of DTIPs unless the voice calls that they are providing now use internet technology, Mr. President? Just in case the sponsor knows something about this, can he share?
Let me be totally honest. No? I was the first congressman in 1998 to question why Globe and Smart is charging 1 peso per text. Kasi nung umpisa, libre yun eh. Libre yun. So I filed the resolution investigating that. Of course, like many things in Congress and Senate, walang nangyari. But like many things, it developed, it evolved, and like many things, may nangyari naman. No? So in that case, Mr. President, ang nangyari, it became too profitable, text messaging capital of the world, piso-piso, billion yon. So actually, nagkaroon na ng wireless technology nun eh. Pero hindi pinush. Pag Metro Manila, libre. Pagka outside Metro Manila, long distance pa rin. Hindi pinush yun. Ang pinush pa rin kasi yung per minute, 6 pesos, 7 pesos per minute, at yung text, 1 peso per minute. Later on, nung nagkaroon na ng internet, lahat nagmamigrate na to Viber, Telegram, etc. Wala na silang choice. And then may demand, pinaganda nila. So, of course, if you ask them, and some of what they will say is valid, it's big investment, malaking pera, but for me, mas malaki kita nila dun sa ano eh, sa text at saka sa ano. So, I mean, history will validate how much of what I say is true and biased. So, but that's why I give you that context is because now, if there's internet all over the Philippines at may free Wi-Fi ka, magmamigrate yung iba. O kaya kukunin ko na what do you call this package sa cellphone ko, yung pinakamura. Di ba?
Correct, correct.
So I'll give you an example, and I love my brother for this. Siya ang nagmana sa lolo namin na don't spend a peso unless it's very valuable. Unless value ka. So like when he's in Hong Kong, he doesn't pay the roaming na 500 a day. Alam na niya kung anong hotel at anong mall may free wifi, tapos sasabihin niya sa amin, Kuya, te-text kita in 2 hours, pero wag mo muna akong i-message in 2 hours kasi wala akong wifi. Then pupunta siya sa free wifi. So kung ang Hong Kong or wherever you're going, free wifi lahat yon, wala nang magbabayad sa Globe at Smart nung 550 or 395 na roaming. So that could be one reason. But the other reason, which to their point naman, is yung franchise kasi may clearance ka from NBI, the national security, lahat ng regulation. So, di ba, may issue nga yung mga kampo eh. Yung equipment nila, they're being used for spying. And even allies spy on each other. No? So, may mga valid naman. That's why hindi naman natin inalis yung power ng NTC dito at hindi natin inalis na pag telephony or ano ka, meron kang may franchise ka pa rin talaga.
Sige, so to better understand the distinction between the voice calls that we know and then the data transmission, which is the latest convenience being given to us by latest technology. What's the technology behind the voice call, Mr. President? What do you call that technology?
This is the old one. Okay. Sir President, before I read that, let me just say na the reason why I say naman na di ba na a higher tide raises all boats because as of now, lalo meron tayong SIM card registration. Hindi ka naman pwede signal, WhatsApp, Viber, etc. na wala kang phone number eh. So dadaan ka pa rin naman sa telco. So and it's been shown in the past. So for example, Mr. President, hindi kumikita dati ang telco sa pagda-download ng videos, di ba? Pero dati kumikita sila sa text. Pero nung gumanda internet, kumita din sila kasi mas maraming videos. Tapos ngayon, many of their plans, libre ang Facebook for example. Dati, dun sila kumikita na yung sa doon mo. No? So, but to answer your question, so basic telephone services rely on circuit switch network which is a dedicated specific circuit or channel for the entire duration of a call. While this ensures reliability and steady connection, it is highly inefficient because the circuit remains idle when no data is transmitted. Imagine reserving a single-lane road for one car, exclusive during its journey, guaranteeing a smooth ride, but leaving the road underutilized. Dito yung comments na but may cross-line or party line. Kasi theoretically, wag mo i-share. No?
Maximizing the
Oo.
line.
Data transmission services, on the other hand, uses packet switch technology, while data is divided into smaller packets that travel independently across shared network resources. These packets take different paths and are reassembled at their destination, allowing multiple data streams that include, for example, video calls, streaming, browsing to coexist efficiently. This is akin to a multi-lane highway with many vehicles travel simultaneously, adapting their routes dynamically to avoid congestion. Then if I may add, pero if you compare it to roads, may limit pa rin yung roads. So may limit pa rin yung spectrum eh. So depende sa frequency, may spectrum na mas malinaw, pero sa pangmalapitan, may pang... So valuable pa rin yung, kahit ano sabihin natin, whether that's 1 lane or 10 lanes, whether that's pang train o pang kotse, valuable lahat yung spectrum dyan. So that's what we're also trying to look at here.
Mr. President, the Majority Leader.
Mr. President, just
Yes, Majority Leader.
just a slight interjection. This is supposed to be, this should have been manifested a few minutes ago, but since the debate rolled on so fast as if it's technology advanced and fueled, let me just express my manifestation of support to this measure. Mr. President, this is very timely. I can still recall an incident which happened 2 weeks ago in Napas, Aklan, Mr. President. Meron pong isang estudyante, 13 years old, na lumabas ng bahay ng gabi para mag-piso load sa kanyang wifi para mag-submit ng assignment. Isasubmit niya due nung gabi para sa klase niya kinabukasan, tiga-Aklan. Dahil wala ngang wifi, hindi po siya nakauwi ng bahay, natagpuan na po siyang patay. Hanggang ngayon po, hindi pa nakikita kung sino yung mga salarin. It just goes to show, Mr. President, that we really need to upgrade our infra system insofar as connectivity is concerned. Kung ang Vietnam po ay 90,000 ang towers, ang cell sites, tayo ay bakit less than 25,000, 20,000? So, Mr. President, I am in full support of this measure. Perhaps during the period of amendments, I can insert some and fine-tune some of the provisions. Yun lamang po, Mr. President, at maraming salamat to both gentlemen.
Thank you for that, Mr. President. And yung mga kwento nyo, napakaraming magagandang kwento ng, halimbawa, nagkaroon ng kabuhayan during the pandemic dahil nga na-discover nila yung e-commerce or online selling. Pero totoo din po kayo na ang dami pong nakakalungkot na storya for simple reason that they did not have access or konting ulan lang wala ng access. No? Thank you for that, Majority Leader.
And one more, Mr. President, John, one final point. Nung panahon din po ng COVID, Mr. President, there is an LGU who is supposed to be the torchbearer here. Ito po yung Pulilan, Bulacan. Yung Pulilan, Bulacan po, wala silang connectivity sa kung saan-saan. And yet, they were able to survive, surmount, and connect all the barangay halls. Pati yung mga blended learning na patulak nila without any help from any telco. Telcos are listening right now because they were benefited by the presence of a Dutch electronics engineer who happened to be married to a lady from Pulilan. Kaya po yung Pulilan, ang taas po ng antas nila sa pag-aaral kasi hindi na-disrupt yung pag-aaral nila. Just to show an example, Mr. President. Salamat po muli.
The Minority Leader has been very fair naman with his questions. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Diba? The Smart, Globe, Dito, they're doing a public service, they're making money, but they've also done so much. Having said that, they're also businesses at may obligasyon din sila sa shareholders nila, sa stockholders nila. But for example, many of them are conglomerates, di ba? So like say Globe is connected with Ayala. With better Wi-Fi, nakikinabang din yung kanilang sales online. But of course, it also affects them all. So medyo mahirap lampasan ang pag-iisip lahat nito kasi minsan your left hand and right hand are not talking. Kikita yung isa hindi. So ang smart, wala silang malls, pero may Channel 5 sila. Mas maraming manunod ng Channel 5 kung lahat may Wi-Fi. Kasi hindi ka na dun sa franchise area lang or sa kanilang transmitter ngayon. So, mahirap pong isipin yung implications na to eh. Pero baliktarin nyo po. Madaling isipin ang implications if we don't develop our digital infrastructure.
Yes, that's good. We agree with the statement of the sponsor. Yung if we do not develop the digital infrastructure, mas masama. Pero going back to the telcos, is their business model under threat because of the latest developments in the usage of the internet, Mr. President?
I'd venture to say yes, but the threat also has an opportunity. Kasi sila ang nandun sa business na yun. Sila ang may team. They have the best IT people. Of course, the best IT people are in the private, public, but they're there eh. And then as we saw nga, di ba, nung akala nila, nung ang PLDT magkakaroon ng competitor, matutumba na PLDT. Hindi. In fact, magre-renew na nga sila ng franchise ulit next year eh. Nung ang Globe at Smart under threat sa Sun, kasi ang galing ng marketing ng Sun, nagkaroon ng sunset din yung Sun at inabsorb din siya, pinag-agawan din siya ng Globe at saka ng, nung akala natin walang third party, may dito. And then pumasok internet. So now they're marketing their cellphone and then of course may GCash and may Paymaya. So if magiging short-sighted po tayo, so meaning if you were the chairman of Globe and I was the chairman of Smart and brass tacks, concerned tayo. But it's also so much opportunity kasi sky's the limit, literally sky's the limit. If not only we embrace this, but look at nung lumaki tayo, di ba, pagka made in Japan, or hindi naman tayo, parents natin, kung made in Japan, kopya yon. Kasi dapat made in UK o US. Nung panahon ko na, pag Japan, original yon, pero pag Taiwan, kopya na lang yon, di ba? Eh ngayon, what? Acer, di ba? Taiwan ba yon? Top 3 in the world, di ba? So, iba na yung gumagayat, then naging China. And then ngayon, di ba, with what's happening with, what's the AI ng China ngayon? DeepSeek. Nagka-deep trouble sa open AI at sa stock market. So yung disruption is not because of this bill, but because technology has gotten so fast, but the opportunities are there. And I think matibay ang telcos natin. They're well managed, they're well financed, they're loved by the Filipinos. Hated pag napuputulan, pag na-drop call. Ako, sa dulo kasi ako ng Taguig nakatira, umulan ng malakas, nawawalan kami ng wifi. So,
Pero, yes, Mr. President, although sabi ng ating sponsor, PLDT will be renewing its franchise, pero hindi ba binago na niya yung kanyang business model? Hindi na siya,
agreed. But that's
hindi na
what
siya landlines, ano na siya ngayon, nakapokus na siguro siya sa DTIP, data transmission, I believe.
halo-halo na rin po. Kasi like sa bahay, may Converge ako, may Sky, may PLDT. Kaya galit talaga ako pag walang wifi kasi 3 na yun eh. Di ba? But tama po kayo, nagbabago yung models nila.
Okay, so ang isang reklamo kasi umabot din sa akin is this measure, ano ba to? Parang provides an uneven playing field and it is actually to the detriment of the telcos. Masyadong pinapaboran si DTIP. So,
Yes,
can we
I
get the
agree with
reaction
that.
to